There you go, Councillor Morris, you're all set.
Okay, welcome everybody, and welcome to any people that are watching this on YouTube. I'd like to call the Warwick Cemetery Board meeting to order, please. And if anybody has any conflict of pecuniary interest, I always have trouble with that word, please say so at the proper time. I think everybody has received a copy of the minutes from the last meeting. I'm just asking if they've been approved by council, but I just wanted to ask if anybody had any errors or omissions. Everybody was happy? Well, that's good. Correspondence. You've read, we'll start with the first one with from RWDI. Now, they're a company that works for waste management, basically, and takes care of a lot of their groundwater issues and stuff like this. Years and years ago, when the dump first opened, the council told them about the well on the cemetery and that it was still active and still being used. We have to keep reminding them, it seems, that it's still being used. But what they do is they take a sample out of it every year, I believe, or is it twice a year? Every year, I believe, to confirm that there's no pollutants from them getting into the water, because it is a shallow dug well. So has everybody had a chance to review the report?
Yep.
Okay, at this time, I'll take a motion to accept the report.
I can make that motion, Wayne.
Thank you, Joe. The seconder, please. Todd, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All in favor? It is carried. Now, the second one is basically for information. As you probably heard, Waste Management is looking for a expansion on the top, not on the sides, but on the top, basically, of the landfill. Right now, they're working on what they call the terms of reference regarding that. Because we are a neighbor, I guess you'd say, they have included us in the information. It's not that easy to understand, but to say it is very early in the process yet. So if we do have more questions or concerns as we get closer, we have lots of time to submit them. So this is for your information, a report from Waste Management, but I do need a motion to receive and file.
I'll make that motion, Wayne.
Thank you, Joe. Could I have a seconder, please? Todd, thank you. All in favor? The motion is carried. No. The next one, we have correspondence from Marlene Manders about a bylaw exemption request. I'm going to open this to the floor for discussion. I can a little bit about this. George and Beatrice Manders, the owners, I guess they're both passed away, but the owners of the property live right next door to me. They did have only one son, Eddie, and he married Marlene and they had no children. So as far as the lineage, I guess you'd say, the letter is accurate. I went out this morning and had a quick glance at the plot because the drawing just showed where it was. I was concerned that the monument might be in the center of the four rather than on the over the two. It looks, and we would need Public Works to verify that it is over the two plots that are used and the other two plots are open. So that might be a little bit of information for you.
Okay, so now my question is, when someone comes into the township office looking for a plot, do you show them the big map, Amanda, and say, like, we have these two over here, kind of, and then, but we have this whole big area over here? Or do people have to ask for those kind of things? How does that all work?
So great question. Our usual process when asked for selling plots is it depends on the requester a little bit. So we get a sense from them over what their preferences are. Sometimes we have specific requests for looking at lots that are as close as possible to another completed burial in the cemetery, which often is in the old section. But typically, we refer them to the new section, which is the back of the cemetery. And that's because no longer is it the norm for people to look at family plot kind of purchases. And the new section is lined up. It's easier to work in and to sell plots where they'll understand where they are at a quick glance at the cemetery. So, and I guess unless there's a specific request to be buried in the old section, we start usually to refer people to the new section, but of course accommodate any request that comes in.
Okay, my other question then is, do they actually say, okay, give me a map, I want to go out and have a look at what's available?
Sometimes, yeah. So
Okay.
sometimes we do have that request and we will print them the whole map, and it shows, as you can see in the stone orchard, like which ones are green and available, and
Yeah.
they'll have a search through.
Yes, Todd.
If we're considering their request to buy back, do we even know what they paid originally?
So great question. No.
Yeah.
No, and as I understand, and as our bylaw is written, we do have to pay current market rate to buy back plots. So in this case, we suspect that the purchase price, was much less than the current valuation of the plots. We can remove the current care and maintenance fees, so we would retain that contribution that was provided, but they would be in accordance with our bylaw, refunded the full amount less the care and maintenance fee. And I'm not sure about HST, but it would be definitely more than they were purchased for a number of years ago.
So it'd be like any other piece of property, basically, the rights to it.
Yes, but in this case, our bylaw does have a specific restriction on family plot buybacks. And it is for this purpose because of the monument locations, as you said, Councillor Morris, the configuration and the interest in being buried is less in that front portion of the cemetery currently, unless there's a unique situation. Typically, people want to be buried at the back. And also at the Watford Cemetery, as you know, we have a very large area that would support expansion into the future. So that's why our bylaws were set up in that way, in recognizing the potential financial challenges that could be associated with purchasing plots back in less desirable areas at a cost much higher than any revenue generated from them. But I understand the personal request.
I was wondering, Wayne, would there be cousins that might be interested in those two plots?
Yes, there is. George's brother was Johnny Manders that had the horses.
Okay, yes.
So like Raymond Manders is gone and Rich is gone, but Keith and Rob and Wendy are still around and community members. If we do not accept this offer, we could give that back in the letter as a option for them to contact family members. My only concern is a little bit, when you look at that map, there's a lot of yellow spaces. Those yellow spaces are from old family plots that nobody passed them down. And unfortunately, the lineage is gone and they'll probably never be used. I guess if you go, sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
No, I just, so that's not, I just want to clarify that that's not the case for all the yellow spots.
Oh, no, not for all of them, but for
There
a
is
lot of them.
some of them, but I mean, we have a burial that was just scheduled yesterday that is taking up 2 of the yellow plots. So some are still in use. We don't have a pulse on how many Councillor Morris would be in that position that they're likely not to be used versus are still planned to be used. So we don't have an indication of what.
But there is a percentage of them that are the lineage or whatever you want to say is gone. The The only thing is it would save the expansion area 2 plots because you have 2 available, but I have no opinion either way on this, so it's up to the committee what they decide. Yes, Todd.
If
Seems
it's
to be-
not, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if it's done, what's the precedent that we're setting? Like if we do this and you have all those yellow plots, does that mean anybody with a yellow plot can come back and say, buy my plot
Yeah.
back?
Potentially, that's definitely, the precedent is
Yeah,
the risk. Yeah.
and we really, we don't have the funds to do that. I don't think. Like,
A little history, what also can be done, like when my daughter Jessica passed away, I had already had transferred the old original family plot to my name through the wills of my grandfather and father. That this Marlene Manders can transfer this to a nephew or niece for what I think I paid $10. It was a very small transfer amount anyway. So she does have an option.
Yes, the fee for a transfer, there are actually 2 options if this request wasn't granted. The first would be, as you said, a transfer, and our fee now, it's either $50 or $100 plus HST. I can't recall. I think it's 50. And the other option is anyone who owns a plot or has rights to a plot can either gift or sell them on the open market. So in that case of a niece or a nephew or a family member, they could sell them privately or gift them. And the only thing the municipality would need is the appropriate paperwork to notify of the transfer. We would ask the question to ensure that they weren't sold for over market value, right? We don't want that to happen. And then the transfer fee would still apply if they were sold to a third party.
Thank you, Amanda. Has anybody else got any questions or point of discussion?
I would just think that we'd be sitting on those plots for a long, long time, and that would be quite a financial burden to the board, I would think.
yeah,
It's like Todd says, you're setting a precedent. How many are we going to be sitting on?
yeah.
Well, and it's not just this cemetery. It's Bethel, it's Watford, it's Warwick.
Yeah.
Right.
The precedence is a very big concern.
Yeah.
That's
Yes, Todd.
I like the idea that we encourage family to deal with it within their family, like especially in this case, there is family in the area. So
Yes.
that there is a definitely probably people that could use those plots, that it would work and maybe they could work it out. With others, it's, and even then, you know, I don't think we want to set that precedent.
No. If we do send a letter back to them saying that we can't allow the exception or the exemption, sorry, I would ask that you mention about the nieces and nephews that are still in the area. Marlene is in her 80s and she has no children, and her sister seems to be kind of taking care of it. And she maybe not realize about the family. I've never met her sister. So I need a motion then from the board to either accept or deny the exemption. Todd?
I'll move to deny the exemption with the letter sent that you put forward.
Thank you.
Wayne?
Do we have a seconder? Joe, thank you.
I'll second.
All in favor? The motion is carried. Amanda, have we got any other correspondence?
No, that was all we had on file.
Okay, I received an email, I don't know if all of you did or not, from Jan Justin. I was hoping he'd be here,
Mhm.
regarding some of the signs out at Warwick, not on the trees. I did a tour of all the cemeteries on Monday, and I see what he means. Part of the problem with these signs is once they get moved from a tree, we're not 100% sure which tree they belong to.
Yeah.
But Amanda did reply, and I thank you, Amanda, to, they will be put back on, so.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that on the minutes. Yes, Todd?
Just a question on that. Do we need should we put a policy forward? Like, I know in the past we're not doing individual trees anymore. It's a forest, it's people's names go on a sign. If something happens, like, do we need to put a policy, hey, if a tree dies, whatever, and there's a sign on it, you will be collectively part of the forest. It's not a replacement policy of the tree because it may not make sense. Because I think that's part of the problem that we've had in the past. And I just a question, what kind of other people's thoughts are, because the signs will get moved. Is there a general place where they can go?
Amanda, have you got any comment on that?
Sure. So at this time, Councillor White, when we came up with our memorial forest idea, we had at that time selected that any existing trees with individual dedications would be replaced and maintained. So we do not have a policy that moves away from that for existing. Over the last few years, we've maybe had one complaint about a tree where we replanted an individual tree. But it's very and increasingly rare, given that we're not selling them anymore. So that for a number of years, so the trees that are there are more established than what they were, right, a number of years ago when we were selling them. So, but we could put a policy in place. I think the idea at the outset of the memorial forest was that we recognized that there was some sentimental attachment, right, to a physical one tree with a sign in front of it when someone had purchased that. But we could make a policy and issue a public notice, certainly if that was the wish of the board. Maintaining the signs is challenging. Even we removed some at the Warwick Cemetery previous to Jan's email because they were all leaned up against under one tree. I went out to do a visit and was like, oh gosh. But I removed them. They're actually in my office. And I thought, well, I'll find a map and that's fine. We'll plot them out and we'll reinstall them. But there is no map for Warwick Cemetery, unfortunately. There is for Watford, Watford only, but Warwick doesn't have one. So it's
what if we, Amanda, what if we put these signs that you've collected along the red maples that are in there that don't have any signs? At least they'd be in front of the tree.
Yeah, and well, that's what we'll have to do. We'll look at all the signs that are there and the ones that we have at the office, and yes, try to find a location that dedicates a tree. Of course, if you're a person who has purchased a tree in the past and you have always known that that is your tree or that's the tree that you dedicated, and you come to the cemetery and you see that it's no longer your sign there or something like that, that can also be upsetting. But in the case of Warwick, unfortunately, I don't see a way around it because there is no map. So we'll just have to do the best we can. And if someone does call with a complaint of that nature, we'll try our best to address it at that time.
Thank you, Todd. Yes.
Just when was our last individual sale, like of an individual tree? Like how long ago was that?
I would believe 2013.
2013. So we're about 8 years out. Like I'm just wondering if you do 10 or 15 years since that sale and the policy, maybe that's when we look at the policy change, because that may reduce any conflict of concern.
That's a good discussion.
I have just if there's a period of time, because I do think we're my personal opinion is we're going to unfortunately have to deal with that continually year over year, because lawnmower will take out a sign or it'll get moved or whatever, and then you don't know.
Jill?
Well, that's wondering,
This,
Todd.
Pardon?
Tree cut down?
Were trees cut down?
Yeah, is that why those signs were just placed
Well,
like that?
I don't know, Amanda, that I don't like, they did take out was it the cedars? That
Yeah,
were taken out last
Oh.
year, but they didn't have any sign, and that was because they were encroaching significantly on the maples, and I think they wanted so the cedars all
Okay.
around Warwick were taken out, but this is more to the, what way am I thinking? To the north, like the north of the cemetery?
well, some of them are on conservation area.
Yeah,
authority
on the
land.
conservation area.
There's
Yeah.
ones all along the front and some throughout the cemetery. I looked at it the other day.
Yeah, so.
Jill, you had a comment?
Yeah, aren't most of them, I shouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them are for the Fergusons. Did anybody
Right.
talk to Glenn?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that they know which trees were Susan's and which trees are,
Yeah.
that by the time you eliminate the Ferguson ones, then we can maybe deal with what we've got left.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what if we left with Amanda, maybe with these signs and our idea of putting them by the red maples or whatever, and have the Fergusons involved, because they could be the ones that put them back up. And then we can say it was done the best way we knew how.
Yep, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be happy to take that direction from the board.
Thank you. Okay, as we're moving on to new business, Decoration Day, of course, is this Sunday. We haven't given the board a lot of time with our meeting, but the program is all set. Hopefully we'll have a good turnout. We last year, of course, had to cancel it because of COVID, but it would be nice to have a big turnout. Unfortunately, what I've noticed from my past experience, a lot of people that attend unfortunately become residents, and the attendance is dwindling down a little bit, but hopefully we can continue to maintain it. I don't want to see us quit it. It'll be people not coming that make it stop. So everybody would be invited to come if you want. It's usually only maybe an hour long, a little bit. So if anybody wants to attend, please feel free to attend. Has anybody got any comments on the decoration day or anything? Or, yes, Todd.
Just, are we putting out the donation boxes as well that day? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation is planning to set them up on Thursday or Friday this week in advance of the weekend. They'll be checking them and taking them down early next week as well.
Great. Excellent. Thanks. That's my only question.
Is there any other questions or anything? Amanda, did our beehives get moved?
So I believe so. After that comment, Parks and Recreation did attend the site, I believe yesterday. So I believe they'll
Okay.
be taken care of. And Teresa's nodding, so they have been taken care of.
We, for the rest of the board, I don't know if you got it, but we had an email from someone saying the new where the cremations are stored had beehives in it. So we kind of needed to get rid of them. Okay, new business, update on cemetery operations review and work plan. I guess this would be Teresa. Is it? No, Amanda?
Me, actually.
Okay.
Thanks, Councilor Morris. So this is just an update report, I guess, in follow-up to the last one that was provided to the board at our last meeting. I just want to confirm that since our last meeting, township staff have met as a result of some actions in the municipal service delivery review to look at our processes in the cemetery and the division of responsibilities between departments. As you can see from the roles and responsibilities attachment, we have a lot of departments involved in cemeteries based on their differing areas of expertise. But I thought it was really helpful for us to get together and talk about how that was working, what wasn't working, and we did realign a number of responsibilities, in particular to the Parks and Recreation Department. So welcome on board to cemetery operations, and they're doing a great job. So I think we'll see some enhancements in our internal processes. And also, as a result, we did revisit the outstanding action list of actions from the board. And it is also attached as a work plan. I didn't call it outstanding actions, of course. So we reviewed those actions and designated a responsible department, because some are, they're related to different types of issues. And then we talked about what was feasible in terms of completion with other competing priorities, and we've prepared the draft work plan. So we plan to implement that in 2021 and 2022, and then that would complete all of the actions that have been provided in the past by the board. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's much clearer for us who's leading what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and also because we've taken this kind of bird's eye view look at all the actions, it allows for some efficiency, right? So if we have a monument repair that needs to be done at Pioneer Cemetery, we could also quote at the same time for the Bethel repair of their monument. So I think it will be better overall.
Thank you, Amanda. Has anybody got any questions for Amanda on the report? Then I'd ask for a motion to receive and file, please. Thank you, Todd. Seconder, please. Thank you, Jill. All in favor? Report is accepted. Item C is the Warwick Cemetery expansion planning. I'm going to turn it back over to Amanda, please.
Thank you. As you may know, we did budget $25,000 to support the design of an expansion at the Warwick Cemetery this year. We are a bit behind schedule with this project, but we did, as a staff team, meet on what you'll see as the attachment proposed expansion plan. We talked about accesses, widths of roadways, grave layout preferences, and I have shared this expansion plan with Dwayne Ferguson specifically, and asked him if he wanted to meet with Glenn and myself, or how he wanted to proceed with his comments. We want to make sure to get their comments. From a staff perspective, we kind of consider this a twinning. So almost the same, similar size and similar layout. We do propose a change in the layout of graves. So it's a little bit different than the front section of the existing Warwick Cemetery. The proposed layout to graves would mimic what we did in the Watford new section. So based on our experience with space efficiency and getting trucks in and out, we feel that is the best layout for graves moving forward. And then the little tree icons would indicate, I think we would continue with the same red maples at equivalent spacing, not selling for individual memorial trees, but just to flesh out the look of the cemetery. And we also planned just to maintain our existing two accesses and use them to access new roads, that instead of right now, as you know, the roadway on the interior of the existing cemetery is quite overgrown with trees. And rather than continually maintain that, we do have a land buffer all the way around the other side, and we just see the road moving to the other side of the trees to be on the outside, all the way around as is shown.
So the roadway allowance, basically, Amanda, is on the 402 side and then all around the back and that?
Yes,
Okay.
and yeah.
I didn't know that. Now, this expansion area, do we own the property?
We do. So we own the entire parcel. Right now, we do have an agreement with actually it is with the Fergusons, to farm land lease the portion that is currently not there. Now, a number of years ago, we did retain back from the Fergusons about half of the land adjacent to the cemetery between the campground road and the existing cemetery. I'll say, so you'll see it in grass, but we do own further back, flush with with the existing cemetery, the whole parcel.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody got any questions for Amanda on the expansion report? Now, this is subject to council's budget for 2022, I believe, is it not?
Correct.
So
yeah.
It's
so
not set in stone, but it will be a request from staff to council for the capital budget. Do you want to receive and report for this one, Amanda, or?
If you could receive and support the design as shown, subject to the approvals in the report, that would be super.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Joe. All in favor? That's carried. Do we have any outstanding business, anyone, or Amanda, or?
Not for me.
I got one question, maybe Teresa could have her folks look into it, or Amanda, or whoever. There used to be a plot plan that had the names of the graves of the owners or occupants, I guess I should say. And it used to be the township garage. We used to take it out and put it beside the garage for decoration day. So when people came to try to find Uncle Fred, they had a bit of a chance of where to look. Does anybody know if that still exists?
So we do have a plot plan. Must be the same one that you're talking about, a large scale plan that doesn't have individual graves, but has family graves for the Watford Cemetery with a surname.
Mhm.
However, when we adopted the Stone Orchard system, it has been updated once since we adopted Stone Orchard, our electronic cemetery database, but it hasn't been maintained every year.
Mhm.
So some of the graves are not shown on that plot plan, but we do have it, although out of date, and we could post it on site. However, I don't know if we'd be able to get it laminated before that day.
Oh, this one was already covered in plexiglass, the one I'm speaking
So I'm not sure if it's still located at the Watford Cemetery, but it would certainly be out of date if it's still covered with plexiglass.
Okay.
Most definitely.
of. I'll have a look in the garage when I go out on Sunday, and if it's there, I'll stick it out. Yes, Todd?
Just want in the future, and I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. I'm kind of vetting it. Or would it be bad can we have a laptop there with Stone Orchard on it that you could look it up, or somebody could do that? Is that a problem? Is that easy?
At the Decoration Day service?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, because then we don't have to maintain two sets of records. Like Stone Orchard is where everything's stored. Like, can we, and maybe, if you get some new information, it can be put in and updated at that time.
Absolutely. We could have a laptop available even, well, maybe not this year, but
Yeah,
yes,
no,
we
but
can
I
have one.
Yeah. But I just wonder in the future if staff, and if there is interest, we can quickly go into the database and look that up, because then it's always current too.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Okay.
Can you take that as direction then, Amanda, please?
Yes. Just to confirm though, based on our staff attendance plan for this year's Decoration Day, I don't think we can have it available this
No.
year.
Okay.
But for future years, absolutely.
Yes.
And I can look at the hard copy, and if we have one available that's more updated than the one there, Councillor Morris, we can make arrangements to have that put in.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody else got any other business or anything they'd like to talk about?
I've got something, I'd like to congratulate the people that look after Bethel Cemetery. It looks so much better this year. I did go back to look at it because we had a member of our congregation was going to turn 100, and part of her celebration was going to be to tour the cemetery because all her relatives and in-laws are buried there. So I was very pleased to see how well it looked. As it was, she wasn't able to go because, I mean, when you're 100, things happen. But she had planned to go if she had been up to it.
Thank you,
And it
Jill.
would, and considering that her first husband gave his life for this country, I just thought, you know, we should make that effort.
For sure. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's great.
Well, if there's no other business or any comments or concerns that anybody has, I'm looking forward to Sunday. Hopefully some of you can make it if you can. It's at 2:30, I believe, isn't it, Amanda?
Yes.
Yeah, 2:30. I'll ask for a motion for adjournment. Thank you, Todd. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Jill. All in favor? Thank you.